Kelly, Bernard, you receive your instructions. Again, I will repeat, obey my commands at all times. Keep it nice, clean, and professional. Touch them up. Good luck to both of you.
Hopkins said this will be a fight between two construction workers fighting for a sandwich after a hard day's work. Will we get a roast beef sandwich or a bologna sandwich?
You know what, Kelly's whole mindset of his entire camp is about knocking out Bernard, who has never been knocked out. I've never seen him seriously hurt or knocked down even really serious. So he's got to have a little bit better respect for Bernard than what he has coming into this fight.
Good left hook to the body by Hopkins and a good right hand upstairs as Pavlik momentarily dropped his left.
The punch that Hopkins is not concerned about is the left hook from Pavlik. He's concerned about the jab, he's concerned about the right, so he's moving in the direction of the left hook, as you can see.
Just as was the case against Calzaghe in round one.
Bernard is doing exactly what he wanted to do at this point for the most part, but can he do this for 12 rounds? That's the question. Kelly is a much better defensive fighter than it looks to be to himself. But he has never been that great with technical type fighters.
Pavlik letting Hopkins know he was going to battle him back on the inside.
Good left hook by Hopkins. And again he moves away. Pavlik misses with the right hand, lands a little left hook. Now they mix it up inside. And the grease removal shortened our clock. I wonder if it shortened the official clock too. Hopkins poking the right hand over the top. Pavlik doesn't seem to know what to make of him so far.
But Kelly, both guys are fighting a very good defensive fight too. Kelly is very misleading in his way of his defense.
That's what he did win the first.
Good left hook by Hopkins there.
And so far it's within the second round.
Hopkins able to throw two punches at a time. Pavlik so far has been pretty much relegated to one punch at a time. And again, just as the case in round one, Hopkins with his better footwork is beating Pavlik to the punch and then moving to spots where Pavlik can't find him. Good jab by Hopkins there. And again, he beats Pavlik to the punch with a combination in the center of the ring. The Pavlik plan is to force Hopkins to fight at a faster pace. But you've got to find him to do that. And Pavlik's opportunities to find Hopkins have been few and far between. And Pavlik's legs are stiffened by a Hopkins uppercut. And Hopkins thinks that he momentarily has him, and he comes forward on the attack. But now Pavlik has a little bit more of a fight, and he comes forward looking for more.
This is what I said.
Hopkins again beats him to the punch.
Bernard is getting a little bit more respect.
If there's one obvious and interesting element so far, it is that Bernard Hopkins has the faster hands. Who would have expected that?
Well,
Elbow trade, and Pavlik gets in a left hook.
Pavlik's jab has been more or less neutralized by Hopkins.
But if you look at Kelly's legs, he's a little clumsy with his legs, and that's what Bernard is taking advantage of by giving him movement, something that most of his other opponents have not given him.
And giving Pavlik the business a little bit there as their right arms were locked. He was whacking Pavlik with his left hand, showing some of those old school skills for which Hopkins has been known for so long.
Well, what he's doing mainly is cutting down on the punch output of Pavlik.
Exactly, and that's correct. And
that's been one of his strongest points, and what Hopkins has always done so well is to cool off an opponent's strongest virtues.
Good left hook up between the gloves by Hopkins. Rips Pavlik with his left hook again. Right hand by Hopkins. Faster hands for Hopkins are bedeviling Kelly Pavlik. Pavlik is going to begin to take more risks, it seems.
When is the last time you saw Bernard Hopkins after the end of 4 rounds be ahead on points? Even in beating
when he beat Antonio Tarver here 2 years ago.
And that was about it. But other than most of his fights, he doesn't fight too much early. De La Hoya was ahead, I think, treated most of those guys after the first 4 rounds. This is very unusual for him.
This is very much like the Tarver fight in the sense that he has come in as the underdog and has taken the wind out of a bigger opponent's sails a taller opponent's sails at least, early in the fight. At age 43. And now Hopkins moves laterally and once again confuses Pavlik and beats him to the punch and lands a right hand inside. Hopkins is having fun in there. It's no fun for Pavlik so far.
What happens in this last half minute could determine
Good
the
left hook
outcome
by
of this
Bernard.
fight. Of this round, I should say.
All right, hold on. Got it, that's the back of the head now. Come on now.
This is the technical challenge of fighting a brilliant defender like Hopkins. The target is there, and then it's gone. Pavlik hasn't even landed a solid body shot. Good right hand by Hopkins. And the left hook by Bernard as well. Pavlik finds himself on the defensive so often that he's unable to mount the offense he wants. Again, Hopkins rips Pavlik with a right hand as he comes in.
No punching, no punching, no punching, no punching.
In most of his recent fights, we've seen Hopkins start slowly and try to come on at the end.
But even in the fight with Tarver, he didn't start at this tempo right here. I haven't saw him fight like this in a long time.
How curious is the chemistry of boxing? Watching these two guys now into the 5th round. You would think to yourself, there's no way that Hopkins is the guy who lost twice to Jermaine Taylor, and Pavlik is the guy who beat him twice.
But his style, he's putting boxing skills in here, and this is something that Kelly is not that good with boxers. I've always thought. You have to be straight in front of him and basically a shorter guy. And therefore he can exude his strength and power.
The 43-year-old's hand speed is embarrassing the 26-year-old fighter. And the crowd is chanting, B-Hop, B-Hop, B-Hop.
And you know what we must remember now, Kelly himself has only went over 10 rounds once, and that was in the second Jermaine Taylor fight.
Only gone over 9 rounds.
Yeah, only 9 rounds, so that's the difference right there.
And Hopkins has gone over 9 rounds 24 times, a fact of which Bernard is acutely aware.
And if they both get tired, Bernard may have those natural experience instincts that will carry him through in the later rounds, where Kelly may not have that working for him.
Pavlik thought of throwing a low blow. He didn't do it. Hopkins steps in and rips him with a left hook.
Bernard is having a picnic in that now, and it seems like mentally he's getting recharged now.
He still has the faster hands.
Yep.
He still dominates the center of the ring. He's still ripping Pavlik in combination and putting him on the defensive. Crowd loves it. What a show by Hopkins, and another good left hook. And a straight right hand across the top. Pavlik sticks him with the jab a couple times and goes after him with the right hand, but Hopkins rolled away. Pavlik tries to get a right hand to Hopkins' body and then dodges a left hook in return.
Going for a knockout, which Kelly came in to do and was predicting. Now he has to worry about his last 3 rounds that he doesn't possibly get knocked out himself.
Well, the good news for Pavlik is he's starting to land his jab. Not with any big impact. So just for good measure, as if it isn't enough for Hopkins to have won every round, now he gets an extra point on the scorecard.
His hand speed is too fast, even at 43. I very seldom, at least I've never saw a fighter 17 years disparity in age.
Jack Lowe, Kelly Pavlik's trainer, trumpeted long and loud before the fight that his fighter would be the first to knock out Bernard Hopkins. Now he needs to be the first to knock out Bernard Hopkins to have a chance to score a win by which, or for which he was favored in betting odds by 4-1.
Which is another reason he took the fight. Let's give him that. But that said, boxing has been waiting for some time for the young fighters to rise to the top of the game. Here a young fighter had a chance to do it, and he couldn't pull it off.
This is a damaging blow to the image of the younger generation. Pavlik gets ripped by a right hand, staggered in the center of the ring. Question is, can Pavlik make it to the finish line?
Bernard is very smart. He's held back a little bit there, saving his energy now.
He rested through some of the middle rounds. He saved some energy for the 12th. He just might be able to close the show. He's still hitting Kelly at will when they stand in the center of the ring.
I think this is a masterpiece fight. I mean, even though the Trinidad fight was great, I just like the fact that he started out at the very beginning and has fought the full 12 rounds in a fight. He was a big underdog, youth, everything. Unbelievable.
Look at the difference in hand speed. This is a landslide for Hopkins. No risk there.
He says he invests conservatively the way he fights, but this is the night he has changed. In fact, he said, what would it like when you hear someone say that Bernard knocked someone out in the first round? He said, I don't do things like that. He said, I fight safety. I take my time.
Pavlik's face is bloodied, and his reputation is in shambles at this moment. As Bernard Hopkins cruises down the stretch of what should turn out to be an easy win.
Yep. He went out of his character for this fight.
He has dismantled middleweight champion of the world. A guy against whom he was a 4-1 underdog. A guy whose trainer insisted that his fighter would be the first ever to knock Bernard Hopkins out. Knock him out, he barely found him. Votes did Hopkins gather? Almost all of them.
How you guys at? Real classy, real ready.
Now there's venom, as Hopkins celebrated a little too much. And Bernard comes and stands above us and stares into press row. Hopkins is staring down the media. He is looking at every reporter at ringside, one face after another. He is making his point to the boxing writers and boxing reporters, and he is establishing his eminence once again.
I wish he had the good humor of Ali, who in this moment looked out and said to Sam Cooke, "Did I shake up the world, Sam?"
Bernard is saying, how do you like me now?
This is Bernard's version. Round 12, a microcosm of the fight. Hopkins 25 out of 66, Pavlik 7 out of 34. Hopkins 24 out of 43 power shots. A dominating performance for the 43-year-old star.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Alan Bernstein scores at 119, 106. Steve Weisfeld, 118, 108. Barbara Perez, 117, 109. As we turn the page to another chapter of a boxing legend from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the two-time champion and future Hall of Famer, Bernard, the Executioner